How's it going, Rams fans? Welcome into another episode of the Los Angeles Rams Insider Podcast on Sports Illustrated. I'm your host, Tom Cavanaugh. We're here from the Fans First Sports Network, and we're going to be talking about a few player quotes today, some storylines coming out of the Week 11 win over the New England Patriots, and then going to take a look at if a playoff push is possible for this team down the stretch. 7 games left to play. Rams are going to need to put together a similar streak to what they did last year, winning 7 of their last 8 games, sneaking into a wild card spot to play the Lions on the road. It was an unfortunate loss for LA, but still, nonetheless, they were able to come back after a 3-6 start and make the playoffs. You can follow myself, Tom Cavanaugh, at TCAV30 on Twitter/X. You can go over to Facebook and Twitter as well and follow our insider pages. That's at Rams Insider on SI. And then also just type in your search bar Rams Sports Illustrated, and you'll be able to find all of our content on a daily basis, churning out dozens of stories for all of you covering this Rams team throughout the entire year. So first, we're going to start with a few, not verbatim quotes, but just looking at what a few people said from the Rams organization after the win over New England. 28-22 win for the Rams. They get it done, play a whole lot better of a game offensively and defensively as well. They came up in big spots. Talked yesterday about Cam Kinchins having that game-sealing interception, his 3rd in as many games. And then also the defensive pressure. Byron Young had a sack. Braden Fisk had 2 in a strip on quarterback Drake May. Both sides of the ball played very well. Obviously, Nakua and Kupp over 100 yards apiece. But when you look at it, there's a few different things that both guys in Sean McVay and also Matthew Stafford hit on, just talking about their performances on the field as well as what this team has to come in the future. So one of the things that Sean really loved that he saw was the red zone corrections that were made this week from last. Against the Dolphins in Week 10, they were 0 for 3 in the red zone, settled for 5 field goals for all 15 points, just could not find the end zone for 6. And they did it 3 times out of 4 chances this week. Very, very impressive turnaround in just a 1-game span on a short week. They played Monday night against the Dolphins, had to come back on Friday, travel all the way across the country to Foxborough, Massachusetts, and they still show out making the adjustments that were needed. So quarterback Matthew Stafford threw 4 touchdown passes for just under 300 yards. I mean, he was finding guys open all over the field. He had Nakua on a streaker across the field, diving for a touchdown. Colby Parkinson wide open. A 69-yard strike to Cooper Kupp right down the middle of the field on a seam route. Hit Kupp again in the end zone as well. He was all over the place, just throwing dimes to each corner of the end zone, really making it work against the Patriots defense that had caused a lot of pressure last week. They had 9 sacks against the Chicago Bears, and they come out this week and put up a big goose egg when it comes to in the sack total. So that leads me into my next point. Matthew Stafford gave a ton of praise to this offensive line for what they were able to do. With Rob Havenstein, your veteran captain, out, as well as Joe Noteboom, another tackle, it was Warren McClendon who had to step in, a second-year tackle, and then also rookie Bo Limmer. He was in the starting lineup at center. So 2 young guys on that offensive front, and they handled their expanded role perfectly. As you can see, I mean, obviously Stafford, 0 sacks, 4 touchdowns, nearly 300 yards passing. That usually means that your offensive line played pretty darn well. And they rose to the occasion. Stafford, he really credited Limmer for his ability to step in a bigger role, fire off great snaps in the shotgun, also under center, and then be able to snap that head up and block well. McClendon also played a pivotal role on that offensive line, protecting the front-facing side of Stafford. So if they can have more games like this when it comes to the offensive protection, I think this Rams team has a real dangerous chance to go on another streak similar to what they did last year. And then just to talk about Stafford, I mean, he kind of mentioned it himself, talking about how humbling it is to be now the 10th all-time passer in career touchdowns. His first of 4 against the Patriots last week was his 367th of his career, and that passed Eli Manning for 10th all-time. They were tied for it. Now Eli's 11th and Stafford is 10. Also, Matthew is 10th all-time in career passing yards. So he loves to be humble about it, and he loves to give credit to his other offensive players, whether it be the receiver the coaching staff or the offensive line, but he deserves immense credit for what he's been able to put together throughout his career, and now he's revered as one of the best quarterbacks to ever do it. And both guys, McVay and Stafford, they were kind of spoke after the game, after returning to a 500, 5-5 record. They spoke on what their playoff chances or how they need to come out with a winning record this year, whether it be 10-7 like last season or 9-8, which sometimes can get you in. They both gave many little quotes. In the first piece from McVay, he said, "Take them 1 week at a time." Different from what Stafford said, because Matthew said, "Yeah, you've got to string wins together." Now that's obviously what McVay meant, but they're looking at it in a few different aspects. McVay's looking at it 7 days at a time, 1 week at a time. Well, Matthew, he's looking more so at the grand scheme of 7 games left. You got to win 4 of the last 7, 5 of the last 7, which leads us into our point here. Does this team have the possibility, or they have the juice to be able to make a playoff spot? And I think they do. You're in one of the tightest divisions in football right now. It's the Cardinals who had a bye week. They're 6-4, and then a couple teams at 5-5. You have the Seahawks, who won over the Niners this past weekend. Niners fall to 5-5. Seahawks pull up to 5-5 with the win, and then the Rams, they grab it as well, so they return to 5-5. So you have 3 teams with the same record. The Rams right now have the tiebreaker over both the Niners and the Seahawks because they beat them already this year. Now they got to play 3 more divisional games to finish out their season, do the Rams. The next 3 games, they'll face the Eagles next week, very good team, the Saints, who have looked better with their interim head coach, and then the Buffalo Bills, who just knocked off the undefeated Chiefs. So those are 3 very tough games to go after. You handle business against the Patriots. Well done. You got to win either one of the next 2 games. Stay within 500, and then when you get down to those last 4 games of the season, starting in Week 15, you got the Niners, you got the Jets, and you got the Cardinals and Seahawks. So 3 of the last 4 games of their season are going to be divisional games, and they got to take at least 2 of those divisional games. Have to. So usually when you go 4-2 in the division, you make the playoffs. That's just how it goes. So when you look at it right now, the Rams have an advantage at 2-1 currently in the division. Their only loss was to Arizona in a 41-10 whopping in Week 2. They'll play much better in Week 17 when they face Arizona once again. But I think when you look down the stretch here, you'd like to get a win against Philly or Buffalo, kind of surprise and upset those guys. But even if you don't win those games, being able to take down and handle 2 of their final 3 divisional games, that's going to be pivotal. But with 7 games left to play, when you look at it from Stafford's aspect of stringing wins together, they will likely have to win 4 of their last 7 games to become 9-8 to even have a chance. Now, if you win 5 of your last 7, you're probably in the playoffs at a 10-7 record, because that's what they were last year and then snuck in to play the Lions, as I mentioned earlier. So it's going to be telling over the next few weeks. The Eagles are no easy task whatsoever. They're a team that can lay an egg and lose. That's just kind of how Philadelphia sports have been traditionally for the last several years. So I could see on Sunday Night Football the Rams being able to be at SoFi Stadium, upset this Eagle team that's got a ton of talent. Then you got the Saints, who you should beat, but they've been playing better. Buffalo, that's going to be your toughest game of the season, arguably. And then the Niners, trying to take them down once again. We just saw last week that San Francisco can lose at any time, considering the Seahawks beat them. And then the Jets, they're 3-8 right now. They just haven't figured anything out. That's a game that's a must-win. You got to handle business there, just like you did against the Patriots. And then you look to your final 2 games, playing a couple birds, the Cardinals and the Seahawks. If they don't beat the Niners, they're going to have to win their final 2 games there against Seattle and against Arizona, because the way the Cardinals are trending right now, if they continue on what they're doing, they're going to win the division, and it's going to be up to a wild card spot for the Rams. And just bolstering your record, being able to win some games. In here, I do see 4 wins. I see the Saints, I see the Jets, and then I see the Cardinals and the Seahawks. So going 4-2 in the division, winning against 2 other bad teams, I think that's how you finish out 9-8, and hopefully that'll get them in. I don't know if that wins you the division at 4-2 right there, but still, I mean, they could really make a playoff run if they're able to finish out strong in the last 7 games. And both Stafford and Sean McVay are confident in that. So that's going to do it for us on the Los Angeles Rams Insider Podcast. Once again, follow myself, Tom Cavanaugh, at TCav30. And we're going to have more content all week on the Sports Illustrated page of the Los Angeles Rams covering this Philadelphia Eagles team, prepping for a Sunday night matchup against Philly, 8-2, facing the 5-5 Los Angeles Rams, trying to make a playoff push. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you again tomorrow.